Hello, friends. Welcome to Alberta News and Views. Today, carbon tax Carney, Mark Commie Carney, recommitted to Bill C-69. Now, that is the No More Pipelines bill. Danielle Smith responds, and she says, less than 2 weeks ago, Mark Carney told me in person that C-69 was a barrier to large national energy projects and needed to be dealt with. Now he says he has no intention to do anything with it. Make no mistake, if this law stays, there will be few, if any, large-scale energy infrastructure projects built in this country, and Alberta and Saskatchewan will be cut off from international markets. This means Canada will become more vulnerable to and overly dependent on the United States. Albertans will not tolerate this, and neither will I. Hopefully, this election results in a new prime minister that can be trusted to get rid of these terrible policies. All roads lead to Western independence. I am telling you, by the people, for the people, from the top down, bottom up, complete reform. It can be done. It must be done. Danielle Smith cannot do this. She is bound by the system that she signed on to protect. Premier Danielle Smith refutes the idea of a government-driven separation referendum, that any idea like that would have to be citizen-driven by you and I, and then she would get on board with it, and that is what I had foreseen. All roads lead to some form of independence, by the people, for the people. You create a movement or a revolution-style grassroots movement that all of these best politicians rise to the top the exact same way that they have Team America working underneath Donald Trump right now. It is not easy. It is hard work. But like the settlers before us and the pioneers, they set the foundation for future generations. And right now, I'm going to show you a chart. It's the boomer women in Canada that are overwhelmingly supporting the Liberals. Okay? We must set up foundation for a future, because the future we are looking at right now is not good. Here's Danielle Smith.
And that would be the attention grabber of all attention grabbers. That would be on the front page of the New York Times, the Washington Post, Fox News, BBC. It would be a global story if Alberta actually did that, as happened in Quebec very effectively. They never passed a secession referendum, but they had two of them, and boy, did that get the rest of Canada's attention. Why would you rule out a secession referendum for your government to put it on the ballot?
I got a mandate to try to fix Canada. I got a mandate to try to make Canada work. And that's what I've been working towards relentlessly over these last 2.5 years. As you know, we did put in place a process for citizen-initiated referenda, and I leave it to Albertans who may feel differently to put forward a petition campaign. But I think my job as an Albertan and as a Canadian is to try to put on the table the issues that are causing grave tension in our federation and to solve them. And I'm going to look at it on the positive side, because what I have observed is that it may be that the current prime minister doesn't get it, but all of the other premiers do. And we have consistently, for the last number of meetings, signed on to communiques talking about how we're going to build economic corridors. This last one, economic corridors with oil and gas and transmission lines, rail lines, and new highways and other infrastructure in those corridors. And so I believe there's goodwill on the part of the other premiers. The problem is, unless we solve those federal barriers, we're not, it's just words on paper. So I'm going to continue to use sort of that newfound sense of esprit de corps with my fellow premiers. We're going to do what we can after the election to make sure that we address those issues, and I'll keep an open mind. But so far, I'm dissatisfied with what I'm hearing out of the new prime minister. He doesn't seem to understand just how foundational these are if we're going to reset the relationship.
He doesn't care. Canada is divisive by design. There will never, ever be a fair deal all across the board and equality in Canada. Canada is a country of extreme socialism and monopolies. We do not have a constitution. We have privileges. We do not have rights here. It's on full display. All these premiers in Canada, all they're doing is they're trying to make the best case scenario out of a shitty situation, which is being part of this country that is Canada. There is only 2 provinces that decide the fate of this whole country in federal elections. That is not fair. If we didn't vote in the West, nothing would change. Nothing would change. All the votes reside in Ontario and Quebec, and this is by design. So the monopoly does not lose the power. The only way is with independence. We can have all the referendums we want. It doesn't matter. These premiers, year over year over year, they never ever talk about the actual problems in Canada. It is a monopoly with trade barriers, and they will never, ever, ever let go of that. Donald Trump just said today, one of the biggest trade barriers they have to get rid of, so there's no tariffs, is Quebec to get rid of their language laws. Nobody wants to do business with Quebec because they have to relabel everything and translate it into French. That's stupid. But here we are in Canada. They're protectionists. They are protecting Quebec. A nation within a country? Are you serious? Watch Canada the Illusion. That's a good start. Sorry. Now here's Danielle Smith. She adds that it could still happen with a citizen-driven referendum. For her part, she'll push Alberta priorities to Ottawa and launch her What's Next panel later. So she's continuing on here about possible independence or a referendum. Listen to this.
Desire it. The government of Alberta, not citizen initiated, the government of Alberta, like the equalization referendum, the government of Alberta would put a secession referendum on a ballot.
No, I can't foresee that. We do have citizen-initiated referenda, and it will be up to Albertans to decide what kinds of questions that they want to put forward. I don't think we've seen any successful citizen-initiated referenda yet, but that's the mechanism for things like that. For my part, what I'm going to do is continue like that. For my part, what I'm going to do is continue to advocate for whoever happens to be the prime minister to make good on the 9 things that we want changed. We want to see an end to emissions caps. We want to see an end to net zero power regs, net zero vehicles, net zero building codes. We want to make sure that we control our own environment for methane emissions. We want to make sure that we don't have a ban on tanker traffic off the West Coast, that we have control over our process to approve pipelines with an end to Bill C-69 and a couple of other things. Those are things I'm advocating for, and I will continue advocating for them after the election. I will give whoever happens to be in the chair 6 months to make good on trying to address some of those critical problems for Alberta. And then at the same time, I'll be going across Alberta on what I'm calling our What's Next panel to see what kind of feedback we get. But we can't stop trying to get the right policies in place. As I mentioned, we have a prime minister right now who says one thing in English, one thing in French, one thing in Eastern Canada, one thing in Western Canada, one thing to me, and then one thing to when he's asked by the media. So I don't actually know what this prime minister is going to do. I'm not encouraged by that flip-flopping so far, but we'll see what happens after this next election. But those are bottom line things. If you want to get pipelines built, if you want to get corridors established, if you want to open up markets, you have to get rid of all of the policies that are dampening investment in our country. And you can't have it both ways. So I'll continue pressing for it, and I hope there's a change of heart after the election.
No leader of a province or a state should be asking the overlords about their destiny and what they can or cannot do. They should be asking the people what they want. There is a difference. We decide what direction we want to go in. We are not asking. One of the things that irritates me the most about independence is when people say, well, you're landlocked and there's all of these hurdles you have to jump through to get independence. And Ottawa or the king or the crown, I don't care. Fill in the blank. It always comes to the same conclusion that they'll never let you go. That's how a slave thinks. We're not asking. It is a movement. A referendum is just a warning shot of signatures saying, if you don't give us our independence and our freedom, our liberty, then we are going to leave and take it with us. Give me freedom or give me death. Seriously, that is a real thing. People have no idea what it's like to not be able to think freely and speak freely, and know that you have property rights and a way to defend your property and your family. It goes deeper than just this fluffy nonsense, keyboard crunching crap online. All the roads lead to Western independence because it's going to get worse. Look at what happened with the Liberal MP, Paul Chang, that resigned. We have Chinese election interference, infiltration in Canada. We need independence. Here is Carney. He is asked if the resignation of Paul Chang is a teachable moment for him. It is unbelievable how the Prime Minister of Canada, little potato and mashed potato, talk to us like we're peasants. They are servants. They are not masters. Listen to this.
Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News. It appears the involvement of the RCMP forced candidate Paul Chang to bow out of the race. Meanwhile, the Conservatives just removed their problematic candidate in Windsor within an hour of learning of issues of this individual. Why didn't you do the same with Chang? And was this a teachable moment for you?
Mr. Chang made his resignation, offered his resignation last night. I accepted it. As I said yesterday, his comments were deeply troubling and regrettable. We will move on with looking for a new candidate for Markham, and I'll leave it at that.
Mark Carney is collapsing just as fast as his polls. Everything. The media is finally standing up to this guy. In a properly functioning country, he would be resigning right now because of what happened with Paul and him backing him and standing beside him. Paul resigned. Now it's time for Mark to resign because they are two and the same. They are both exactly the same. The RCMP is investigating Paul. Well, now they should probably be investigating, I don't know, maybe the other 11 MPs and Mark Carney and the Liberal NDP party for supporting it. It's crazy what is going on. So here's the chart I was talking about. Liberal Party on the top, Conservative Party on the bottom. Women on the right, men on the left. Okay? 33% of men over 55 are voting Conservative. 50.8% of women over 55 are voting for the Liberal Party of Canada. Now, this is according to Globe and Mail, CTV, and Nanos tracking. Okay? That is astounding. It's just crazy to me that these women over 55, 50.8% are voting Liberal. Why? Why? Is it the dental? Definitely isn't the $10 a day childcare. What is it? What is it about? What is the appeal to the boomer women with the Liberal Party? It just blows my mind. I really have no idea. If anybody out there can solve this mystery, please let me know in the comments below. It's probably has to do with retirement and healthcare, because really that's the only two things that they could be worried about. They should be over the housing crap by now, but taxes should be enough for men and women to agree on, and quality of life, to never ever vote, especially right now, for these treacherous Liberal NDP infiltrated. I don't even know if you want to call it a political party anymore. It's just a circus. I will keep you updated with as much as I can when I can. All of you out there, like, share, and take care. And follow me on Substack, Spotify, and of course, YouTube.